Right, hello everybody. I think we're good to go. I've done something, I'm not sure what I've done something weird with the tripod and it's just not playing ball today. But I think we're good, I think we're all more or less level. Yeah, I think we're good. Right, lovely. So yes, how are we all doing today? I'm back again. As mentioned before, I'm going to try and make this somewhat semi-regularly. So yeah, hopefully this is the start of at least a few more videos to come in the near future. But yeah, so yeah, I had kind of wanted to make this a two-part video today. Got a couple of little things I want to discuss and kind of a question I have for everybody as well. First things first, mod-wise, nothing new, but something I did want to talk about is my left ear here is kind of swollen up. I'm not entirely sure why. I've got a funny feeling it's just because I now cycle to work and I have to I have to leave about 5:15 in the morning, and it's now getting to that time of year where it's really chilly. So I've got a funny feeling the reason this is acting up is because of the cold weather. Something I find has happened certainly in the past when I've been working outside or spent a lot of time outside for whatever reason. I find the tissue, when I'm not wearing the earrings at least, I find the tissue gets really tight and it gets very dry. And almost when the tissue relaxes, it causes almost little creases. I find those spots in particular, they tend to get very dry, and when I oil them up again to try and get my earrings back in, they sometimes they can get a little bit irritated in those little sort of folded bits, and sometimes they'll even split. Now, touch wood, that hasn't actually happened yet. I have no noticeable physical damage as yet. They're obviously just a little bit irritated for some reason. Like, I don't know. Let's get a bit closer. I don't know quite how well you can see. Actually, I don't know if you can tell at all. That's just a vein on the outside, just in case you're wondering. That's always been there, probably always will be there. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, you can't really tell just by looking at them that one is actually swollen up more than the other one, maybe a tiny bit if you really look. But hello Millie. But yeah, so I'm fairly certain that's the only reason why, because that's the only thing that's really changed recently, just me having to cycle to work in the icy cold weather. So I'm pretty sure that's what set it off. But it got me thinking, maybe I'd explain to people what I do in these situations. Because you get... Gwen's about to go for Millie. You get all these different people saying all sorts of different things, and I thought I would just give my take on it as to what I do when things like this happen. Initially, I do absolutely nothing. Like how it is right now, provided nothing else happens and it doesn't get any more painful and there's no obvious cuts or anything, basically all I would do is just leave it. In the past, that's usually 9 out of 10 times, Gwen, she's attacking my camera equipment. Gwen, you can't have that. Apparently she thinks this is a toy. Right, okay. Yeah, 9 out of 10 times in the past, just doing nothing with it, not panicking, not worrying, just making sure I don't do anything else stupid to it. And even while still wearing the earrings, 9 out of 10 times, they will heal themselves up perfectly fine. On the odd occasion where things do actually get worse, the only thing I will then go on to do, like say I actually do get a small cut, which sometimes that'll happen. Sometimes it'll get very sore for a day or two, and then a small cut or a small graze looking thing might appear. In that situation, all I do, quite simply, just leave it empty for a few days. And that's basically it. There's really very little more to that. I see all sorts of people suggesting all sorts of random things online, putting different creams or lotions on them or anything like that. And in my experience, the best thing you can do is just leave it alone. Leave it empty for a few days. And that's how I've figured out my body seems to work best. There's certainly no harm in trying different methods, But at the end of the day, there's never going to be some magic little fix that just makes everything perfect, just like that. It just doesn't happen. So, certainly from my experience... Millie's trying to climb the Christmas tree. Yes, our Christmas tree is up already. That was Anna's decision, not mine. I'll point that out. Yeah, there's certainly no quick fix with these things. In 99% of the cases, the best thing you can just do is, plain and simply, just leave it alone, let it all relax. Let everything calm down, and given enough time and not interfering with the damage, it should fix itself in time. I mean, like I say, there's no harm in trying different little things just to see what works for different people. Certainly different people will find different things work. Like, a lot of people will recommend things like just soaking it in like a saline solution or something like that. And that certainly can be beneficial, particularly if you've been out somewhere and you've gotten really dirty or something like that. There's no harm in doing something like that just to try and keep the area clean and to prevent any sort of infection. But the vast majority of the time, I've always found simply doing nothing is normally the best thing, the best way to treat these things. So, as it is right now, I say currently there's no obvious damage to the skin, there's no obvious abrasions or cuts or anything, so I will just be leaving it how it is. I'll keep wearing my earrings for now, and if need be, if something else further down the line does develop, I will then look into simply remove the jewellery, and even in that situation, just taking my earring out and just leaving it like that. And then 99 out of 100 times, like I say, it will fix itself, just being patient and not doing anything silly to aggravate it even more. So yeah, that was the first thing I just wanted to get. I thought I'd use the opportunity just to explain what I do there. And I'm curious to hear other people's stories as well, because everybody who's been into this for any sort of time knows full well that things happen sometimes. Just little accidents do happen, and it is what it is. It comes with the territory. So yeah, I'm certainly curious to hear anybody else's stories, whether it's lobes or other piercings getting inflamed or anything like that. And yeah, the second thing I wanted to talk about was more of a question than anything. Cats are going at it again. I think it's any time I start talking, I think it wakes them all up and they get all this energy and start wanting to go a bit mad. Gwen's here. Ah, gotcha. There you go. She doesn't like being picked up too much. What's that? Go on, you chase that then. Yeah. Yeah, I think they get all this sort of energy and just go a bit wild when I start doing things like this and waking them up a bit. But yeah. So yeah, the second thing I wanted to talk about really was kind of a question, really. It's I guess it depends a lot on sort of individuals' perspectives, which is why it interests me, I suppose. It's sort of how can I phrase it well? Like, what do you and what don't you consider to be modification or body modification? Because in my mind, and what's brought this about, recently I've been trying to lose weight, not because I actually want to be any skinnier. I actually want to get bigger again. But it's just recently, with everything that's been going on, I've been trying to get a little bit back into fitness again to hopefully help my physical health and my mental health, to try and get a little bit more back on track again. And that's what's brought a lot of this up in my head. And I've been trying to, I've kind of gotten on this track where I've been trying to lose a little bit of weight, just because I kind of want to see if I can, simple as that. Like, I've done the whole getting bigger thing, I've done the whole putting on muscle and getting really big thing, back in my early 20s and all that. But I've never really put any effort into getting smaller again. I did a little bit last year, and that was, again in that situation, it was just to see if I could do it. And I'm back in the same sort of mind frame again. like I say, trying to get a little bit back into the whole fitness thing anyway. I figured that would coincide quite nicely with trying to actually drop some weight. So I'm trying to, I think since starting this little journey a few months ago, I've dropped about 4 or 5 kilograms. I forget exactly off the top of my head. But I'm curious just to see how far I can go, just because I want to see if I can actually do it and where I can take it. And that's what's got me thinking. How much do people that are into the body mod community, that primarily focus on stuff like this, how much do people consider things like weight loss or weight gain or something like bodybuilding? How much do you consider that to be a form of modification or body modification? Because in my mind, I certainly consider it to be within that same realm. Sorry, Gwen's lost it again, she's getting a bit loopy. Anyway, how much do people consider it to be all within that realm? Because in my mind, it certainly is, it's kind of like two sides of the same coin almost. Granted, it's a more popular, traditional, more accepted thing to do, whereas these things, they quite often, she's chucking this around, whereas these things, they quite often perhaps push you a little bit more out of the social norm. Things like fitness and things go the other way, and perhaps they're more accepted and in a way kind of draw you more into the social norm. Like, think about it, how many people congratulate you on how big you got your ears versus how many people congratulate you if, say, you lost a little bit of weight, for example. But at the same time, it's, in my mind, it is all a form of body modification, because you are consciously making a change to your body, you're making an adaptation to your body in order for it to do something. In this situation, it would be losing weight. But that kind of got me thinking, so how much further does that go in that regard? For instance, like I say, trying to get a little bit healthier, something I've always kept a close eye on is my resting heart rate. I quite like, when I'm doing little projects like this whole fitness thing, that's something I look at quite closely. I like to bring it down as much as possible. I've got it down to the low 50s per minute in the past. I forget what I'm sitting at the moment, 68 or 69 on average, I think. So in my mind, focusing on that to bring that down as well, that is also a form of body modification, because I'm intentionally putting effort into doing something that is causing an alteration to my body, regardless of whether it's visible from the outside or not. It's altering the function of my body, and it's something I'm putting a conscious effort into doing. So then that, like I say, it makes me wonder how much further does it go in that regard. If a person starts training for a specific sport and they start doing all these different things that alter their body, maybe it's something to do with adding on muscle, maybe it's something to do with making themselves faster, maybe it's anything that is effectively fine-tuning their body towards a certain goal. How much of that would you personally consider body modification? Because the way I view it in my mind, it's all, like I say, it's all part of that same thing, that same drive. You're making, like I say, intentional modifications to your body, intentionally adapting it and changing it towards a certain goal that you, for whatever reason, find desirable. Whether it's simply a fashion statement, or some sort of fitness thing, or a specific goal like a sport. I'm just very curious as to what other people think about that. Like I say, certainly in my mind at least, it is a form of body modification. So yeah, I'm very curious to think what other people think about that. Yeah, I think that basically says it all, really. I'm just very curious to hear what other people think, because obviously this particular little community is more towards all the weird little things like this. But at the same time, do you consider things like that to be body modification or not? So yeah, yeah, let me know down in the comments what you actually think. I'm genuinely curious to see what different people think, because I have no doubt different people are going to have different opinions about what does and doesn't qualify as body modification, and I'm just curious as to what people think and perhaps why they think that. So it'd be really cool to hear from some people. If you do feel like dropping something down below, I'm really looking forward to reading some of these comments, because I'm sure there'll be some really interesting ones. So yeah, and yeah, something that actually brought this all up to my head, particularly today, that made me want to make this video. I was actually out in the woods this morning, just recording some videos of birds, which actually that brings me on to something else. Something I've recently started playing with. I've started messing around on another YouTube video, another YouTube channel, where I'm basically just going out in the middle of nowhere, recording videos of animals and sticking them on this YouTube channel. Is there anybody on here that would be curious to see that? If there, I know, sorry, a completely random tangent, it's nothing to do with body modification, but if anybody is curious to see any of that, let me know, and maybe in the next video I'll put a link in the description or something. But yeah. Anyway, this all came into my head today specifically, just because during these videos I was recording a few clips of myself just out in the woods, and it occurred to me just how much weight I've lost. And I do look genuinely different to how I did just a couple of months ago. I was actually quite shocked, because I don't really look at myself in the mirror a great deal. I'm sure that's hard for people to believe, but but yeah, I generally don't look in mirrors a great deal, and to actually see myself on video looking the way I did, it was actually quite a surprise to me. And that's sort of what got me to thinking all this, of how much of this is a actual body modification or not. But yeah, so yeah, anyway, that turned into a real rambly waffle. So thank you, again, anybody who's made it all the way through this, thank you very much. And just as a little thank you, I'll show you my cats again. Why the hell not? We're here now. We've got 3 of them in here at the moment. Oh, she's running off. I think it's just because I picked up the camera that's kind of scared her a bit. Millie's under there. Gwen is also under there. Don't know if you can just about see her eyes. And little Parsnip's over here asleep. And so yeah, hello, goodbye from them, and yeah, I guess goodbye from me as well. Thank you for listening to this big old rambly video. Hope somebody found it interesting, and yeah, I certainly look forward to hearing what people think. So yeah, please comment down below, and goodbye from me and Millie. Try.